topic of 3D space meeting audio.
Yeah, what Sarah said, we really appreciate you guys coming out. We value your time and we hope you get a lot from this presentation and then the follow-up activity afterwards. So we wanted to introduce Ching-Ching Chen, who is our speaker. She is Vice President of Content Partnerships and Strategy at Capital Music Group. And she also oversees the Capital 360 Innovation Center. She has a lot of industry experience and also does a lot with Infinity Festival, which I'm sure she might touch on in her presentation. But yeah, that's a little bit about her. And then there's more you can read here in her bio.
Hey guys, happy to be here today. Excited to talk to all of you.
And then me and Sarah are going to go in just a tiny bit about kind of introducing the concept of 3D audio and then giving one or two examples, and then we'll turn it over to Ching-Ching.
And then so we kind of broke it down like Ansley said. So what is 3D audio? 3D audio is a binaural sound system which captures, processes, and plays back audio waves. And so we kind of put in a little picture of here, and on this next slide, we have a video that explains it a little bit more.
Yeah, and then for the video, we probably should have said this at the beginning, but if you have earbuds or headphones, that'll really help for the videos, like the video demos that we play, because that's kind of imperative for binaural audio.
And then for right here, we kind of talked about going beyond 3D audio, and there's 8D audio. And so 8D audio uses binaural recording in order to trick us into thinking sound is traveling towards us from different spaces. And we included a QR code to a playlist if you guys want to scan it right now to see. And it's like an 8D audio playlist. And so if you listen to it with high quality earbuds or headphones, you really get the full effect.
Mm-hmm. And then Sarah, can you go back to the XR slide?
Yes, I'm sorry about that.
No, you're good. And then we just wanted to talk a little bit about it more in the concept of virtual worlds. So the goal is essentially to get sound in a virtual world to travel like it would in the real world, because in order to have a fully immersive experience, audio is such an integral part. So if you just kind of have this flat audio, it creates a more flat experience. It's really interesting. And then I think, do you want to try seeing if the video will load for that link, Sarah?
Yeah, let's see. I believe in it.
Let's see. But that video is really cool because it's for Melody VR, which is this bringing live music experiences to you. And you can position yourself in the crowd. So if you're farther away, the audio sounds like a less intense concert. But if you're closer to the stage, or you can even put yourself on the stage if you want it to be really loud and have it kind of mimic that effect like you would get at a real live show, but within your VR, like your Oculus or whatever VR platform you're using. I think that's it for us. And then we were going to kick off this presentation with a Q&A for Ching-Ching. So we'll let her introduce herself, and then we'll do a little Q&A portion.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here. As I mentioned, I always joke that I'm a little bit of the black sheep of the music industry. I'm a former investment banker. I worked at Morgan Stanley, oil and gas, infrastructure, renewables for a bunch of years, and then ended up as chief of staff, our president and COO, doing a more operations-based role for about a year and a half before I went to business school. One of the reasons why, after going to business school, I really wanted to pursue something in music was I used to look at my bosses and they would literally live and breathe finance. And I used to be good at my job because I was competitive, but not because I woke up dreaming about Goldman Sachs versus Morgan Stanley. And so really over the course of the, 2 years of business school, trying to reinvent myself, knocking on every door, I landed a role at Universal Music Group in the corporate strategy team because they love ex-bankers. Literally, I went in as a spreadsheet and PowerPoint monkey for the summer. But it got my foot in the door. I got to work on the Spotify and Pandora deals, a bunch of really amazing opportunities. But at the same time, I was lucky enough to be introduced to Steve Barnett, who's the CEO of Capitol Records, and really had a conversation about what does role in the music industry look like for someone without a traditional background like me. And so, ultimately decided post-graduation of business school to take on a more label-specific role. A lot of my job and functionalities, or what we joke more of a corporate central function, but ultimately it's been quite the evolution. I started off really focused on opportunities around operations, thinking about how to digitize and bring us to the whatever century I came and keep track. And ultimately, about 6 months in, they put me on a committee with what they called the young people, where we were tasked to think about what does the future of a record label look like. And before we knew it, it started off with just a proposal of here's some of our 2018 priorities, here's some of the partnerships, and here's some of our work we'd like to do with the startup community as well as the broader tech community. And by January of 2018, we were tasked to be a full 9-person digital strategy and business development team and really build that out. So over the course of 18 months, we launched an accelerator program. We launched our Capital Royale Music Tech Festival, which is why we're in partnership with Infinity Festival now. We did a bunch of hackathons, and it's been quite the wild ride to really think about how to think about music in a different lens. And about January of this year, especially with COVID and the limitations of events, we were really kind of forced to think about ultimately how do we take a step back and how do we impact the core business with some of these amazing relationships we've developed, whether it's with the startup community or the tech community. And so my role has really been focused on how do we actually implement. So, rather than incubate in a silo, we're working with Alienware on a gaming concept. Can we actually do a full 360 campaign around a Katy Perry music video, placement within a music video, but also launch a game? Those are the types of things we're trying to think about in terms of non-traditional content. So it's been fun, but really open to any questions, and definitely would love to kind of have this as a casual conversation with you guys.
Hey guys, so this is my first meeting, but I'm here in Miami, and we're organizing the virtual Miami Music Week and Miami Art Week, and we're kind of building upon virtual Burning Man, which we did this summer as well. So I'm happy to be here. I didn't realize this existed. It's a really cool platform. So thanks for hosting and everything. So my question is based upon, you mentioned startups and accelerators and incubators, and how do we get involved with that as far as Miami Music Week and Miami Art Week? So we do have a lot of tech companies and startups. In fact, we have Alienware here in Miami, and we also I run the Unity 3D and Unreal Engine and Magic Leap user groups in South Florida. So we have a lot of developers as well who'd be interested in those type of programs if you have.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a few ways to get involved. We run a formal accelerator program. So depending on if you're already an established company, you already have your founders and are looking to raise capital or have a network with the music industry, we run twice a year a 7-week program where we select 5 to 6 companies. So we just graduated our third cohort a few weeks ago, and they're actually presenting literally right now for their demo day tonight. It'll be available on demand if you guys want to check out some of those startups. Head to www.capitalroyale.com. But there is, a huge opportunity to get involved in that aspect if you are later stage. I can connect you with the right people. But we also simultaneously run what we call like our innovation challenge and hackathon type programming, which is focused more on just literally the incubation ideation stage. And it's just more so about opening up our catalog, giving people access and giving people the opportunity to, experience and just really network and make sure that, as they're in the early stages of developing their ideas, they have access to kind of testing. And so those happen sporadically normally tied to our Capital Royale Festival. So we actually just launched our Innovation Challenge. There's about 5 teams competing right now. And if you want to get involved, there's still like public facing programming that you can get involved in. We still have a ton of one-on-one networking meetings that we arrange throughout the next few weeks, but it's very much timeline driven. And so I would just say get ahead of it and reach out to me. I can put you in touch with our UMG Digital Innovation team. And, you know, I think it's just making sure you stay in touch with us and let us know what types of programming you're most excited about.
Sure, yeah. We have a very large interest here. We have like Pitbull has his music startup competition, and I think there's a lot of interest in Miami for that type of programming.
Yeah, we love that. And like the beauty, especially of this year, is the cohort we just ran was obviously for COVID reasons and not for happy reasons, completely virtual. But if anything, I thought it was the best cohort we've ever had, and honestly, more valuable than ever in terms of like still having access to all the networking. Obviously, you lose the physical touch of being in and out of the Capitol building every day, but you know it does make it much more accessible from a location standpoint and from a resourcing standpoint. So, and we also run programs in Detroit as well. So, part of our Motown 60th anniversary campaign that we launched last year. And so, depending on where you think you fit and are most aligned, that's something to keep in mind.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other questions?
This person go, the orange dog. I have a question. Can you hear me? Jasmine. It's Jasmine.
Go for it.
Sorry if it's loud. I really liked your point that you talked about with kind of realizing you wanted to make this like major career change, you know? I just graduated. It's been like a year. I graduated last year from UT. And I already kind of had like a zigzag career thing going on, but I think especially now with COVID, right? A lot of industries have been impacted, and you know, people and students in general, especially when you get out into the world, are discovering new lines of work, new ways to do things. It can be hard to think about changing or pivoting, you know, to something new, especially when you've worked so hard, you know, in the field that you've worked in. So can you just kind of give some like insights on your thought processes, your kind of first steps and starting points and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. That was actually a really tough conversation, or sorry, tough decision for me. And I actually got a really good piece of advice where I was told, don't change job functions and industry at the same time. You know, if you're thinking about your career though, regardless, it's always important to remember that it is a jungle gym and not a direct staircase up. And I think that's sometimes something I have to remember all the time because, you know, it's kind of the sunk cost fallacy. I worked my ass off in banking, you know, you finish a few years and you're just like, well, don't I want to see the fruits of this kind of come to fruition by taking the natural next step, which is a promotion within this building or higher pay. And I think, you know, there's really a few things that you have to think through when you're making every decision is what ultimately are the toolkits you're trying to think about for your long-term career, but also what are the relationships you're looking to establish, because every industry that you end up in is going to be relationship driven. And so, you know, you never know, someone you meet within, you know, one context might end up being a partner in another context. Like I actually spend as much time outside of the building working with tech companies than I do with like artist managers. And I wasn't expecting that initially, but you know, those are all like relationships that I'll probably carry with me, even if I don't stay in the music industry longer term. And so I think that's something to make sure you keep in mind, but also as you're making the decisions, be strategic and make sure you're making that choice based off of ultimately what your longer term plan is rather than the next direct step.
That was a good question. Very similar to your answer. I already had it in my mind, so I just wanted to mention it because there's definitely a lot of students in the room, like myself, who are really interested in getting into the entertainment industry, and maybe some of us have like the music industry on the radar too. But coming from someone who works at Capitol Records, I feel like it could seem intimidating. So, do you have any other creative or career advice beyond? I know what you just said to Jasmine was pretty much on the nose, but anything else you want to add for someone who's like still undergraduate student and primarily interested in the entertainment industry?
Yeah, one, make sure you choose something that you're extremely passionate about. I think that will go a long way in going through the bad times. Look, every industry comes with its downfalls, like no matter where you are, you're going to have to deal with certain politics. You're going to have to deal with certain, misunderstandings. That's always going to be there. And so I think you have to remember the why more than anything, of like, why are you doing this? Why do you love this? And what's going to keep you there at the end of the day after a long, hard day? But I think beyond that too, it's really understanding, outside of the industry that you're most passionate about, what it is that you ultimately want to do. And you guys, as students, this is the best time you can talk to anybody, like reach out to whoever you can. Like during my 2 years of business school, I literally cold emailed everyone in the music industry that would talk to me, because I knew I loved music, but I didn't know what the right job function was for me. For a lot of us, we have no idea that music doesn't just mean A&R. Music doesn't just mean marketing or promo or radio. And there's a lot of non-traditional roles and stuff too, but also an opportunity for you to craft something that works for you. And so use this time to talk to as many people, network with as many people, to understand what it is that you truly enjoy and where you truly fit in. But also, is this the industry that you actually want to be in? Because, now is the best time to figure that out.
That's cool. Thank you.
Hello. Hi, Ching-Ching. Thank you so much for doing this. My name is Ilya. I'm a first-year M.B.A. student at UT. And I have some aspirations as well working in the music industry, particularly with an interest in the live music space. I've spent a few years working with So Far Sounds, which is an organization you may have heard of that puts on kind of pop-up music concerts. And, now obviously a lot of that is not happening anymore, due to the environment with COVID. And I'm just interested in hearing your thoughts and about kind of what does the future of live music look like? How do you kind of envision that? And what is Capitol Records perhaps doing to kind of, what kind of projects you're working on? Would love to kind of hear about that.
Yeah. I mean, so traditionally as a label, we're actually not involved in the live process. It's always been kind of the Live Nations of the world and the agencies that have really controlled most of that. But I can't emphasize enough how much of our actual marketing plans revolved around physical activations and, tying things in terms of album sales to live bundles. So that's actually been a huge shift for us of not being able to tap into that, especially for artists like Katie, for example. Like almost 80% of ticket sales are typically live bundles of some sort. And so when that's not available anymore, suddenly we're left to really think about how do we get creative with merch bundles? Are there live virtual experiences we can still get involved in? Are there opportunities to still create, more connection and immersive experiences with the fans? Because I think all of us have kind of hit that slump this year of live stream fatigue. And so it's been a really hard balance of, making sure we're still connecting and engaging with fans, but not doing a bedroom concert all the time. And so you've seen everything across the spectrum. You've seen artists do amazing charitable raises. Now Horan just did a Royal Albert Hall performance, and over 130,000 fans bought tickets to tune in, and a huge amount of money was raised for charity. You've seen other people attempt to really kind of play up and release exclusives like autographed merch in order to still push and drive sales. And yeah, it's been a hard year, I'll tell you that. Like, so much of our marketing hasn't been possible. And, you know, I think it's for us, luckily we're so catalog heavy driven that, you know, we've been pretty stable this year and have had breathing room, but it has been one of those years to say, like, what does the future look like?
This is great, Ching-Ching. Thanks so much for doing this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So following up on that, I'm really curious to hear what are you seeing as kind of the novel and unique things that are coming down the pipeline? Like, for example, my students in audience development class have been really studying the Twitch streamers and how they're moving beyond gaming to actually music and other types of creative streamers. Is that something you're following as a possible new revenue model for Capitol Records?
Yeah, so Twitch is an interesting one because we actually don't have a formal partnership with them, but are constantly trying to figure out what does the future look like. We were actually the first label to experiment in that space where as a use case and a proof case that gamers actually wanted music, we actually did a album deal with NinjaWorks. So Ninja, one of the biggest gamers, December 2018, we actually released a compilation of all DJs, you know, coming up with a soundtrack for him to literally play with. That was kind of our first foray into that space. But as we're thinking about Twitch beyond that, you know, it's tough because we're limited to lifestyle content that doesn't involve music right now. And so it's kind of a chicken and the egg, like where we're not able to promote as much. But a few artists like Disclosure has been doing these incredible sessions and engaging with their fans of like education-based content, lifestyle-based content. A lot of our artists are very talented off the stage too, and it's just an extra layer of engagement. But I think one thing we haven't figured out yet is what does that monetization model look like? I think the gamers have done such a good job figuring out, you know, the tipping world and the, you know, what do they call it? The emojis or emotes, the Twitch emotes, all of that stuff. And that's something that is a new world to us. And, you know, while we're experimenting with the platform, we haven't really understood yet. And also, I think there's a serious question of, yes, gaming fans are used to this, but will we get backlash from music fans if we try to do the same thing? So.
Thank you.
Yeah. Not to talk you in circles.
Oh, no, I hear you. We have other questions? AJ? Russell? Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I'll ask. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Ching-Ching. Thank you for taking the time to join everyone and share. I had the honor of meeting Aaron and Mitch and some of the people in the UT Immersive class. And it's just really cool to see, you know, the people coming in and learning and see how this industry is like opening doors in so many ways, right? Like there's just so much opportunity to create an immersive. And I'm wondering like how you see immersive media used in social environments. Like what do you think is the ideal use for creating community in VR?
Yeah, so VR is actually something we haven't figured out, to be completely honest. But I will say, in terms of immersive on socials, there's two things that ultimately are top of mind for us. One is the audience there, and two, like, is this something that's actually accessible to the masses? So I think Snapchat is probably the first person that made AR accessible to everybody. And that's something that we'd love to see more of. I think as we're thinking about what's possible, ultimately our fans and our like actual engagement is on where we have owned audiences. And so like our artists can go on, live on Instagram, and concurrently 100,000 people might tune in, but they may do the same thing on a website and ask their fans to tune in, and guess what? Like literally no one's going to do it. No one's going to take that extra step. And so that's one of the hardest things, because we're limited by platform in that instance. And hence it's just as we're thinking about like Spark AR, all the opportunities, we're starting to experiment in that space, but definitely it's hard in terms of building the audience. That being said, we are starting to think about that immersive. So actually the Capital Royale event that I mentioned to you, we actually built out a virtual Capitol Tower and are using it as a contained space for tons of content. So really focus on emerging artists, highlighting and giving them a voice, but also master classes, education content, thought leadership content, things for students to really, take advantage of as well, and really create that community feel. And so those are things that we are experimenting with, but not yet from a consumer basis. And then the last piece being like the Verizons of the world, they're investing heavily in trying to make a case for 5G, and thinking about what kind of content, whether that be immersive, whether that be volumetric, as we're thinking about those categories, partnering with them to say what can be done, because we actually were one of the first labels to do a scan with Verizon in December of 2018 of one of our artists via volumetric. And at that point, it was prohibitively expensive. I think Verizon paid a ton of money in order to get that experimental production, but like we could never afford that on a regular basis for our artists to get scanned. And so I think that's something that we're going to have to think about, because one, the audience has to be there for us to justify our marketing spend, but two, it has to be something that people can actually share and people can actually enjoy.
Thank you.
And I think we're going to take one more question after this, just in order to have time for Ching-Ching to show us the Capital Royale website, and then she also has a video that she wanted to share with us.
Perfect.
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
AJ. My name is AJ, and I'm an independent artist actually right now. So I was wondering, this is going off the Twitch question a little bit, but I know that Fortnite has had many concerts like Marshmello, Anderson .Paak, and I know that Travis Scott had like 12.3 million people in attendance at his concert. So I was wondering if Capitol Records is going to be gamifying concerts through like specific video games instead of like Twitch overall.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, I can tell you every artist begs to be part of that. Fortnite's very selective on who they pick and who they partner with. But, it is something that has that cool it factor. And the best part is there's a contained audience already that, is actually a huge marketing draw for us as well. Especially because traditionally speaking, the 12 to 22-year-old male population has been something we're horrible at marketing to. And so that's why I think there's huge interest in the gaming space of really exploring what's possible there. But, I think it's just a matter of scalability, but also because it's so exclusive, it's really limited in like how many that can be done. That being said, I think Disclosure is a perfect example. They actually built out their own Minecraft world and created a ton of like exclusive like music that you could discover, experiences, etc. And so I think that is something to kind of just keep in mind as you're thinking about opportunities. But that's also why everyone is like, okay, even if Fortnite won't sponsor me, is there other opportunities? And is there still that same level of engagement without a contained audience? And I think we've been seeing actually really amazing engagement even without that already existing audience.
And I actually have one small extra question, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I know that Amazon Music already uses 3D audio, and I saw that 2 months ago Spotify's patent was granted to use 3D audio. So I was wondering if we'll be seeing more mainstream artists like Katy Perry using like 3D audio.
Yeah, so there's actually been a huge push. We don't call it 3D audio, but like where we've put a lot of our investment has been on just high-res Atmos mixes. There's a huge initiative between Universal Music Group and Dolby for a lot of our major artists. It's not every artist because it's a case-by-case approval, but for example, a lot of like Halsey's album was available on high-res on Amazon. I think with Spotify now also joining the picture, you'll see more of it. And I think what we'll ultimately see is probably a world where, similar to a few years, was it 5 years, 6 years ago when Masters for iTunes was an exclusive tier, now that's standard. And so like that's kind of the world I see it evolving into. For now, the rationale behind why we do that is to say we charge $14.99 a month instead of $9.99 a month, and that it's a premium service. But I think, you know, in order for it to really be accessible to the masses, it'll have to kind of really go that MFIT route.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. So I think that wraps us up with our question portion. And so we can just open it up to Ching-Ching, your formal presentation, and then just let me or Sarah know when you want us to share each of the assets.
Yeah, so really in terms of this part of the conversation, we wanted to kind of keep it casual still, but there's two things that really we wanted to focus, and I'll leave it to you guys on which one you want to start with. One is I'm going to play a label reel of kind of all of our recent artists and just highlighting what Capital is as a label to really have a conversation or answer some of your questions about what like a life in the label looks like and what label operations looks like. And then the second thing is the Capital Royale website showing you that, but also talking more specifically on like the music and tech intersection and that space. So I don't know if you guys have a preference on which one you'd be more interested in starting with, but I figured that we keep this casual and that those are the two kind of areas we could focus on.
Yeah, I'll share my screen right now and show that video.
Cool.
Awesome. You guys, but I was kind of dancing. But we're going to go ahead and we think that we should give more time for the website. So if you guys want to look at that. And Ansley, I think you're sharing that because it wouldn't work for my laptop.
Yeah, I'm going to try to load the website, and I think it should work because it worked last time.
And if it doesn't work on the shared screen, we're going to go ahead and send the link into the global chat. Or, well, I think it's going to work, so never mind.
So here we go. And then we have different rooms. So this is like the first video that's in the lobby when you come in.
In partnership with Infinity Festival, Capital Royale will be releasing new content throughout the fall, celebrating the intersection of storytelling and technology. And if you're interested in all things music, be sure to take a weekly tour of the virtual Capitol Tower for new content drops from your favorite artists, industry-leading discussions that will take you behind the music production and development process for some of your favorite songs and favorite movie soundtracks. This is your chance to take an inside peek of the Capitol Tower like never before. And if you're having fun, don't forget to take a tour of our studios, the house Sinatra built and the home to the music greats that have walked through these halls.
Siempre yo tengo algo que dibujar. Siempre tengo algo en mi cabeza. Siento que mi mente viene más de los sueños. Y los que se me quedan, siento que los tengo que dibujar. Entonces, cuando voy a escribir de mis dibujos, saco la letra. ¿Qué tal, chicos? Mi nombre es Carmen de León. Y están viendo New Slay. Yo he vivido en muchos sitios.
And then that's just another artist snippet. It's really, really cute. I put the link to the website, I think, in the chat earlier, and I can repost if you guys want to go through after and watch more of these videos in their totality.
Yeah, but, and you can drag and drop so that you can really do a full tour if you drag. There's our Capital Care section. On the other side, we also have access to a studio tour, as well as, you know, the link out to our merch. So there's a lot of fun things that you can kind of really explore and do. And really, it's a couple categories. All of the lobby stuff is really focused on new music and new discovery. The lot is where a lot of the things that I think you guys will enjoy will be. It's a lot of the thought leadership discussions. We have, we have our Anatomy of Screen Music podcast session that takes you behind the creation process for a lot of amazing soundtracks, including Mulan, Avengers, etc. We have our Inside the Mix for anyone who's an audio engineering geek. That's an opportunity for you to really dive into the studio. And then the actual rooftop is going to be different featured moments every week of like specific artist moments, etc. And then you can always go on the schedule to click on demand if there's specific pieces of content that you want to push or experience. So yeah, definitely, I think lots to engage with, and hopefully you guys will enjoy some of the content, really, especially some of the more career focused things. If you guys have questions on what it's like to work in the studios or work in the soundtrack department, I think this really brings you an inside look to that. And like, these are people who are way more eloquent than me and have way more amazing experiences that can talk through that. We even have an interview with Joseph Gordon-Levitt talking about technology, which you would never think about him talking about technology, but it's just people in a different lens. So hopefully you guys can enjoy some of this.